Internet, hello you lovelies. Let's talk all about One Battle After Another. This is going to be a completely non-spoiler review because there are some twists and turns, especially in the third act, that I love the tension of, and this movie's marketing is one of my favorite things that Warner Brothers has done this year, and Warner Brothers is on this incredible hot streak of all their movies doing well, but I think the marketing around this film was one of their biggest risks, and I hope it pays off. So one of the reasons I'm making this video is these kinds of movies, we always say, they don't make them like that anymore, so I want and hope people go see this kind of thing and vote with their wallets. They get to make movies like this and make marketing more like this. Before I get into it, I promise no spoilers, but please hit that subscription bell if you're not already subscribed. This page right here, I cover movies, I cover TV, I cover comics. If you love genre content, if you love movies, if you love TV, please hit that subscription bell. Help me grow this beast. Also, press a like in this video. It helps the algorithm. And most of all, let's have a conversation in the comments below all about One Battle After Another, because it is a movie full of themes and ideas and big concepts that deserve conversation, as well as, in my opinion, some of the best acting of the entire year. All right, let's talk about it. One Battle After Another is the newest film from Paul Thomas Anderson. This is a writer-director who has pretty much all hits. No misses, no major misses from me. This dude makes art so consistently, and I love that this film apparently took him 20 years to write. He said that flippantly. We don't really know the details, whether or not it was like a first draft 20 years ago or what it meant by the 20-year run, but I'm so glad we got it now, because astonishingly, whether it's the amount of work this man has done or how the film evolved over those 20 years, somehow this film feels more topical now than it should, but then is possible. Like, this film feels like it is made for precisely right now, and it does a fascinating thing by never really dating itself. The cars are kind of a vague time, the settings, everything doesn't feel like it's specific for a good reason. It makes it an immediate classic, but it's also terrifyingly now. And I love that this film took this long to get here, because we need films like this now. We need films with confidence. We need films that have something to say and say it loudly and say it in a very entertaining but importantly strong way. This film knows exactly where it stands, and I love that about it. This is, I think, one of the funniest movies of the year because of that strong stance, because so many laughs come from this place of absolute darkness where you're laughing so as not to cry. It is your diaphragm needing that release from all the tension you've been feeling, and I think we need films like that right now. And I think this one is Paul Thomas Anderson knowing a movie he's wanted to say and messages he's wanted to say for a very long time, and all that pressure really cooked into something special. Now, that's the writing side of this Paul Thomas Anderson experience. He's also one of our best living directors, and this is such a different Paul Thomas Anderson film. This is his most action-packed film by a comfortable margin, but it's also one of his most visually striking films, because he shot it on VistaVision. This is a film shot with a format that hasn't been used. It's been used twice since 1961, and it looks very similar to IMAX. So if you're familiar with the IMAX ratio, it expands out, so you've got more at the top and the bottom, giving you more of a 4:3. This technically isn't that, but it's close. But usually when you think of IMAX and the 70mm style, you think of action and spectacle and big bombast. Instead, the action and spectacle is coming from a dramatic place. There is lots of action, but this whole film is in this beautiful ratio, and instead of it being about action, the action is in the emotion. The action is in the drama. There's so much raw emotionality in the way this film is shot. There's so much captured right here that allows for that humor, that allows for this incredible drama and tension. But then when it kicks into action, you've got this incredible frame. You've got this incredible action director in PTA that none of us, I didn't think he'd be this able to do shots that remind me of some of the greatest action directors and then seamlessly blend in his action. Like, I just hadn't seen it, so I didn't know. Some of the action here, especially in the third act, is jaw-dropping. Some of the chases in the second act are more riveting than a lot of action movies get to be. It is such a capable film, and again, that confidence as a director, loved it. Now let's talk about some of the acting. This is, I think, one of the best acting ensembles of the year. And I say that confidently. I know we're not quite in Oscar season yet, but this is going to be very hard to top. We got to start with Leonardo DiCaprio. Leonardo DiCaprio is on this incredible run right now of playing this character type who is charming in his brokenness. He is such a movie star, and you lean into the man so much that he can play these guys that don't quite do the right thing, and they're not quite on the beaten path, but you're so fascinated by them, you feel connected to them. And this run of Once Upon a Time in Hollywood, Don't Look Up, Killers of Flower Moon, and now this feels like that through line of Broken. And I love to see him blend in some of the humor from things like Wolf of Wall Street, some of the charm and machismo of Great Gatsby, some of the heartthrob Lothario-ness of even Titanic, but in a broken man. Like, there's something so interesting about Bob, and there's something so interesting about all of his relationships, and you want, even though he's bumbling and failing and not doing what he needs to do as this man, you want him to succeed. And there's so much of Leo that is so fascinating as a movie star, because you don't know what's going to happen next. You don't know what the next emotion is going to come out of this dude. And he is so good in this. Again, effortlessly funny, very raw, and an important role. And before we get into the plot, because I don't want you guys to know too much about the plot. I didn't. I think this marketing is genius. It gives you the tone. It gives you the sense of whether or not this movie will be for you, but without revealing much of anything about what the movie's about. But I do want to say it is a very bold film to tell it from the perspective of revolutionaries. And Leonardo DiCaprio plays a revolutionary. He plays a father. He plays a man who is dealing with what he has to in his time. And I love that we're getting more films like this. We're getting things like Andor. We're getting things that are about people standing up against systematic oppressions, but we're doing it in crazy spectacle blockbuster ways. This feels to me like a movie that you'd find in a cabin in the 90s on VHS in so many ways. One, in that I didn't know what it was going to be about. Two, in that it's an adult thriller that has a lot to say. And three, in that it gets to be confident in its action and its drama, like The Fugitive and like movies of that time. So Leo's doing that kind of performance. PTA is giving us that kind of movie. And I really hope people show up for it, because it is stuff we don't get to see as much of. And more importantly, it's such an important film. Which brings us to Teyana Taylor. Teyana Taylor, I did not know her work before this film. She plays an absolute successful, accomplished, bombastic revolutionary. And her relationships in this film are so fascinating. And I don't want to give what the context of those is away, but it makes you question everything. And I really love that the way you navigate your emotion towards her depends on the scene. I love that the entire group of people you meet in the opening of the film is so different than the group of people you meet in the second act of the film. And that lends into the third act of the film and how you adjust your expectations accordingly. I have a lot of strong thoughts on the themes in this film. There's a lot of discussion on immigration. There's a lot of discussion on human rights. There's a lot of discussion on pretty much everything political you could hope for in a film that knows what it wants to say. And I happen to align with a lot of it. And I really love that this film lets you as a viewer experience the extremes of both sides. If we're looking at a two-sided political system, it gives you a very clear indication of both sides. And I like that it acknowledges them both as extreme. And it really looks at what we need to do as a society and as a species to find some way to coexist. And it pulls no punches in how it's not working out right now. Which brings me to Sean Penn. Sean Penn, man, I think this dude is such a good actor. This is one of those, like, you know, I hear things about him as a human, but him as an actor, Dead Man Walking, him as a director, 21 Grams, him as, you know, someone that steals every scene he's in, like Secret Life of Walter Mitty. This dude always has such a gravitas, such a pull towards him, and he's always so damn intense. And here, this might be my favorite role of his, because he's evil and vile and brutal, and his whole cabal and the world he represents is so disgusting, and it's so fascinating to see someone that interesting to watch be the forefront of this thing. There's so much comedy around that, of his absurdity, of this hyper machismo. I'm a dude, and I might make a video one day because it sits on my mind a lot. I'm a dude that thinks we need more masculinity in films, but we need to know the difference between masculinity and toxic masculinity. I love seeing this absurd masculinity, this broken man in this way, but I do think we need to see some of the other side, and that's a video I might make. But this performance is astounding, and maybe my favorite performance in the film is Benicio Del Toro. Benicio Del Toro is an actor that shows up, and I'm there. I'm buying a ticket if Benicio Del Toro's in a movie, and in this film, he is so confident. There's such a swagger. There's such an energy. There's such a everything between him as Senpai and Bob, Leonardo DiCaprio, that buddy cop energy mixed with absurd levels of capability in Benicio and a total lack thereof in Leo, and what you get out of this character, and every time he's on screen, you want to know his backstory and where he's going, and he's just fantastic. And everyone else in the film, I want to talk about Chase Infiniti in a second, but there's so many guest star, like if this was a TV show, like one pop guest star that steal the scene. There's so many beautiful day player roles where people are just so captivating, and they have this full lived-in life, and we don't see them, or they come back and you don't know because the movie takes so many twists and turns. And Chase Infiniti I had never seen before, did not know her work. She is acting and keeping up with Sean Penn, Leonardo DiCaprio, and Benicio Del Toro in some of their best work. That is an insane feat. She is so good in this. She is so riveting, and there's so much depth behind her eyes, and there's so much emotionality, and there's so much lived experience in this role. She is incredible. Chase Infiniti is a force. This is one of those roles like Haley Steinfeld in True Grit where you're like, oh, she got the Oscar then, and now she's been acting for 20 years, and she's only 30. Like, we're going to see this portrayal as like the beginning of an incredible career. She is so good. So everyone in this, acting wise, the highest praise. Directing, writing, highest praise. The movie itself, 2 hours and 40 minutes goes by pretty quick. I haven't laughed this much in a long time. I haven't been this white knuckle about action in a long time. It's original, it's bold, it has something to say. It's the kind of movie I want them to make more of. So support original film, please. If you have any interest in this film, try it out. I'd love to know what you thought in the comments below. I did want to stay vague. If this video does exceedingly well, I doubt it will. It's hard because I love IP. I love big spectacle stuff. I love big franchises. I do. I like live that world. But I love these movies too, and this is in my top 5 of the year, and this video will not do nearly as well as if I was talking about, you know, a Fantastic Four or a Thunderbolt. So please engage with this video, like, comment, all those things, but also if you have any interest, support a movie like this, because this is what we need in between those big spectacles. They're called tent poles, right? Like tent-pole films, they keep the tent up. These are the movies in between those poles where it's important to see them in cinema to show these studios this is what you want. So one of my favorites of the year, really, really impressed, really happy it exists, and I'll be thinking about it for a long time. And it's not something I'll be able to rewatch often because of its darkness and because of its mirror on the world. But I think whenever I watch it, I'll get a different experience out of it because it is full of so much. So I hope you get as much out of it as I did. I'd love to know what you think in the comments below. And one battle after another is 20 years well deserved. Some incredible work right on display, and see it big if you can, because that was quite the ride. All right, I'll see y'all soon. Like, subscribe, comment, YouTube buttons. Bye.